want to thank you for your time. There's a lot of things you can do on this cold morning. I know it is no fun walking from the house to the car, from the car to this room. And so thank you for your time. We'll have a meeting at 6 p.m. this evening in this same space, and then at Bethel, Mount Bethel Baptist Church, we'll have 2 meetings at 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock this Thursday. So if there's some folks that you know that it would be valuable for them to hear this information, if you share that with them, those will be times that we'll meet. I know that our school district is valued by everybody in this room and in our community. You know, a small example of that would be when our football team went to South Carolina State and competed for the 3A championship. We brought more folks from both of our communities than the 5A state championship competition from either of those schools. And so caring about our kids, supporting our kids is something near and dear to us. And we take that very seriously as a district. In the past 4 years, Anderson School District 2 has performed in the top 10% of all South Carolina school districts. There's 73 public school districts, and we've been in the top 10% by any academic measure that we're held accountable for. What I'm going to do at the beginning is I'm going to share just some background information on the district, just so you know who's talking to you and kind of what kind of district we are. And then I'm going to walk you through kind of what brought us here. I'm going to share the results from a facility study. I'm going to share kind of the timeline. What I'm going to present to you has been kind of 2 years in the making. Last semester during board meetings, we had several presentations that included most of this. And I'm going to talk to you about funding that South Carolina school districts operate on, some special funding that our county has, and then just the ways that school districts raise funds for capital improvements. And then I'm going to present to you 2 options that our district has, and frankly, any South Carolina district has, to address significant capital improvements. And then we'll have a time for questions or anything I did not say that was clear for you to give me a chance to kind of re-explain that better. In 23-24, Belton Honey Path High School was recognized as a National School of Excellence. It was the only high school in South Carolina that earned that designation. That's for getting more first-generation college students per capita than any other high school in the state did, which is tremendous. And then these are just some of our test scores. This is how, when you see the district report card or your individual school report card, this is about 90% of that ranking. And you can see that our test scores on anything that we can measure have increased from the last 4 years. Our students are achieving at a higher rate this year than they were pre-COVID, which we are very proud of, and which surpasses state averages in any of those assessments. Our fine arts are very important to us. If you looked on Facebook Live, the last board meeting, we recognized our FFA teams. We also recognized our all-state chorus students. We had more students earn all-state chorus designation than any other 3A school in the state. We had more students recognized for all-state than Dorman High School, which is the largest high school in the state. So we do our very best to make even the outside academic experiences very valuable for our children. Part of your school report card, 10% of it, or 10 points rather, is based on student and teacher and parent surveys. And it's about 35 questions or so that ask students and teachers, do you feel that the learning in your classroom prepares you for post-high school opportunities? Do you feel safe at your school? When things break at your school, do you feel that they're fixed? And so answering positively gets you more points. Answering negatively gets you fewer points. In 22 and 23, we had the highest school climate rating of any district in South Carolina. Last year we were 3rd. So the last 3 years we've been the top 3 out of 73 districts concerning school climate as measured by an anonymous survey of our students and our teachers, which are very, and people do not lie on an anonymous survey. So we're very proud of that and very grateful for the environment that our school leaders create. And then Anderson School District 2 has one of the lowest monetary tax burdens of any district in the county and the upstate, and being a good steward of our taxpayers' resources, a priority to us. I'll be very transparent with y'all. At the end of this, or the last portion of this, I'm going to share with you that however we address our issues at our middle schools, it's going to require a tax increase. And I'm well aware that's not my money. We are just stewards of it. We're just stewards to allocate our community funds to provide the best educational experience for our children that we possibly can. So, this is the timeline that kind of led us to today. We did a district-wide facility study the winter of 2022. We had a third party come in, look at all 7 facilities, and then the result of that I'll share with you. We presented that to the board, and then based on that facility study, it revealed that our 2 middle schools have the largest infrastructure and needs for repair to keep them going. And I'll share some of that information with you. Because of that, we held 3 focus groups in the spring of 2023. One of the focus groups was a group of our area pastors. We have about 25 to 30 pastors that we meet with on a regular basis. And so we shared the results of the facility study, and we shared these are some options or some things we could do to address those needs that we have. And then the other 2 groups was just a really diverse group out of all of our communities. It's about 20 to 30 folks in each group. And at the end of each of those meetings, we asked our folks, what is the desire of us based on the options we have in addressing our middle schools? What would y'all like to do? And then the second question we asked them, what can we do as a district to attract the most talented teachers we possibly can, and to attract families that value education? And those are the kind of families that you want to attract. And obviously, those kind of families only move to areas that have a strong education system. And so the answer to that first question was, we'd like to explore what it looks like to build a unified middle school. So with that in mind, we did everything else on that list. And you can see that. I won't read it to you. You don't want to honor your time. And that brings us to this winter. My board directed me to hold community meetings in the November board meeting. And so that's what we're doing now. Again, we'll have meetings at Mount Bethel. When we get, and I'll be very transparent with you, when we get through with this week of town hall meetings, we'll kind of sit down as a district. We will probably send a survey out to all of our parents, just because I send them a Friday email anyways, and that's kind of an easy group to communicate with, and just kind of assess what other information does our folks need to make an informed decision concerning our middle schools, and what are some of the groups potentially that we've not had an opportunity to get in front of yet. So that's probably where we'll go. There'll probably be other meetings, probably a little smaller, probably meeting with some of our smaller community groups as we go into February and March. We desire to hold a special election, which would actually be tentatively on April 26th. They would actually have a referendum question on a special election ballot. If that passes successfully, then we would prepare the construction documents with an architect and a construction manager during the summer. We begin site work in the fall of 2025, and then the opening of the Belton Honey Path Middle School would tentatively be fall 2027. And I'll share, as we go through this, a lot more information on all of that. The facility study, this kind of captures both of the middle schools and kind of their history as we've done construction on them, and kind of gives you a visual on kind of what we're looking at. So, see if I do this right. Whoops. There we go. The green portion is the original 1954 construction. If you walk in the gym and you turn right, and you'll see a plaque on the wall, it says 1955. The construction documents that we found, these were the years they had on them. I can't explain the discrepancy why the construction documents have 1954 and why that plaque says 1955. I wish I had a better answer for you than that, but I don't. This is an addition that was made in 1986. If you walk into this hallway, and I think if you look somewhere around here against that wall, the plaque actually says 1981. I can't explain why our construction documents say 1986. There may have been some improvements made, and they needed to regenerate the construction documents, but probably that building was built in 1981, 1986. There was, when this was built, there was a portion of the building that looks similar to this that sat somewhere around here, and we tore that down because it was no longer suitable for children to have school in it, and replaced it with this. During this construction, no significant improvements were really done to any of this. There was a large construction project in the early 2000s, and all schools were added on to, and Honeypath Middle School had this addition, and then a small addition right here, and then in 2012, we expanded the locker rooms in the back, and that shows that's right there, that red portion. Belton Middle School, this is the main core of the building. This is the original 1954 structure. There's also this auxiliary building. We have band on this side, Project Lead the Way classes, kind of our pre-engineering classes on that side. You can see there are several improvements, or additions rather, made to Belton Middle School. This is the old Geargan High School. 1957 we added these 3 classrooms. In 69 we added these 6 classrooms. In 77 we added this round building. This is where our 6th graders are currently. And then in 89 we added the library, and then we added a addition to the cafeteria in 2002, and the office area, the new office area, as well as this wing in 2002. That's what Belton Middle School received during the building program in the early 2000s. In 2001 is the last time a referendum was passed in our district, and that funded those facility additions. The facility study identified the following from our middle schools. I'll put them both up there. I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to kind of give you a visual. Both of the middle schools need significant below-grade plumbing replacements. We have not really looked into above-grade, above-the-ground plumbing replacements. An example of that is last Christmas. If you're looking at Belton Middle School, there's a little small parking area that visitors park in. Last Christmas, there was actually a fountain coming up in that parking lot. And that's because one of the water pipes that feeds into the school, and that piping runs all the way up under the school, actually both of the schools, had a small little fissure, and the pressure was actually pushing water up 6.5 feet through the asphalt. That plumbing, so we had to go in there, dig it up, replace it. That's not that big of a deal at Christmas time when there's no students, or if it is in a parking lot. That plumbing runs up under both schools. That is a huge deal if it happens actually under the building, and you've got to dig up hallways, and you've got to replace that, and you've got to do replacements like that. Electrical repair throughout, and address flooding. This is not so much an issue with Honeypath. At Belton Middle School, I'll go back real quick. This, and again, I'll be very transparent. This area, and even in this area, when it rains, children walk through water here because the grading that was done causes water to actually go up under the wall, and not so much here, although it does occur, but this floods every time it rains. The students who take band at Belton Middle School cannot put their instruments on the ground. So there's some flooding issues that need to be addressed. I don't have a good answer for that, but it does. And you see Honeypath, Belton Middle School, the actual student bathrooms, the fixtures were replaced in 2013, just the sinks, the commodes, things of that nature. None of the plumbing was replaced. We have not done that at the Honeypath Middle School, so it desperately needs bathroom facility replacements. Really faculty and students, definitely students. Both of the schools need roof system replacements, and Honeypath now it needs window replacements. When Hurricane Helene came through, the windows in the upstairs portion blew in, and all the water came in, so we actually had flooding on the 2nd floor. Code at that time did not have the same requirements that it is now, so the windows are not fixed in a way that can withstand those winds, apparently, and probably the age also. And then safety upgrades at both schools, which were not needed or even thought about when the schools were originally built. A conservative estimate, and this is very conservative, and I'll never mislead you, but if we were to fix everything we're aware of, this is before you even get into the walls, it's even before you even get into the floor, it's before you get up in the ceiling, just the stuff we can see that we know of would be between $14 and $25 million if we fixed it now. It will take years to fix this, and the construction would be ongoing during school because we couldn't just do it during summertime. And so obviously building a house now is cheaper than it's going to be building it 15 years from now or 5 years from now. So this cost would be much more because we would not be able to do it right now. Some of the things that we anticipate will make this cost larger and make the timeline of construction much longer is the vapor barrier in the floor. We don't know how much of that has deteriorated. As it is now, when we replace a floor in one of our schools, most of the time we've got to replace the vapor barrier, and that's so moisture doesn't get up into the classroom and cause issues like mold. We do not, so extensive above grade plumbing replacements. In some of our schools, if we replace a commode, actually the plumbing that's coming out of the wall, you have to replace that because it just crumbles in your hand as you're trying to remove that commode. We don't know yet how extensive that is in both of our middle schools. We know that below ground it needs to be replaced. And then and I'm not going to say this accurately, and so I'm just going to kind of tell you, there comes a time when a certain percentage of your square footage, if you have to touch that to improve it, you have to bring the entire building up to current code, which is a sprinkler system alone is hundreds of thousands of dollars, which neither one of our middle schools currently have, and we don't have to because we have not done that significant construction to the school. Once you do construction on a certain percentage, you've got to bring the entire school up to code. We're going to shift gears and go toward funding challenges for our public schools, and I'll speed up to honor your time. This is not unique to Anderson School District 2. This is every district in the state, for the most part. 87% of all of our funding goes toward personnel, which makes sense. The most important person in any school is that teacher in front of your children teaching your kids. When we do a budget, and you'll hear, if you ever listen to the school board meeting, you'll hear me say this every single budget, and our trustees talk about it. The goal of any budget is to maintain a competitive salary schedule so we can attract and retain the most talented teachers possible. If you get that right, then you have got a great district. If you get that wrong, then you are putting out fires every single day. And so that's the goal of our budget process. And so it makes sense we're in the people business. We don't make anything, we don't produce anything, we don't earn any money. We get the best people we can for our children. I'm saying that as a school person and as a parent. The state funding we do receive from the state funds only 75% of the cost. So there's a formula that the state uses to determine how much it costs to run Anderson School District 2 and all the other 72 districts, and that's based on your pupil enrollment, your taxpayer index, poverty rating, and things like that. I'm not nearly smart enough to explain exactly what that formula looks like. But once they determine the cost, they give districts about 75%. They give districts 75% of it. And so we've got to come up with the 20% just internally. Districts receive no funding from the state for facilities. That is not unique to us. There's no funding available in the school funding process that provides any money to any district for facilities. So you have to come up with that yourself. That's why I told you at the very beginning, here in a minute, I'm going to share with you our two options. Both of those are a tax increase because there's no other funding that's available to us. Let me go through this real quick. One of the things that is a huge blessing to our district is that, and our county, and I believe we're the only county in the state that has this, is that our voters voted on a local option sales tax in 2015, and it provides about $3 million a year to our district alone. We're the middle-sized district in Anderson County. Anderson 5 is the largest, then 1, then us, then 4, and then 3. And so sales tax from across the whole county is collected. And it is given to each one of the districts proportionally to your student enrollment. And it can only be used for capital improvements. You can't use it for salaries, you can't use it for gas, you can't use it for your electricity bill. It has to be used for capital improvements, stuff that'll last. This was approved by county voters in 2015, and it will come back up for vote on 2030. This has been a unimaginable blessing to our district. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. Even if you don't have children in the district, this is a blessing because all of those funds, when they're collected, off the top, 20% of that sales tax that collected goes toward mine and yours property tax. So if this did not pass in 2030, what we would all notice is that our property tax increases. An additional blessing is that we receive way more money than we pay in. This money is coming from all the gas stations on I-85. When there's a Clemson game, we get all of that tax money. You know, God forbid there's a Buc-ee's that's built, we would get that tax money. We receive way more money than our attendance area actually pays into it. And then this is a list of some of the things that we've paid for. If you look at that list, you know, some of the stuff you have to replace HVAC, you have to replace school buses to get children to school. Some of the stuff is just really nice things that we can provide for our children. Batting facilities for softball and baseball, 1 penny sales tax paid for that. The barn facility for our ag program, local option sales tax paid for that. The manufacturing facility, which is the only one I'm aware of in the state that prepares our children for mechatronics, engineering, welding, and things like that. That was provided by local option sales tax. That's been a huge benefit. And it provides us about $3 million a year. What it does not provide for is the ability to do the significant improvements that we need at both of our middle schools. Even if we did allocate all of that $3 million to our 2 middle schools, that would mean that we could not fix anything at the other 5 schools. And so we would have 5 schools full of students that when things broke, we could not fix it because we were dumping all of our money into 2 old schools just to keep them going a little bit longer. It would also not allow us to have any kind of cushion in case a disaster happened, in case something happened. So last winter we had some significant transformer issues that we had to replace at Belton Middle School. And so this provides for us to get that school up and running. Allocating all of our 1 cent sales tax just to fixing up the 2 middle school would not allow us to be able to meet the needs of those emergencies like we are able to now. And that funding wouldn't even be able to address everything in the middle school. So this is wonderful, but it's not sufficient to meet the challenges that we have in our middle schools. So there's 2 options that our district has, and really any district has, in order to address the issues we have at both of our middle schools. The first, South Carolina legislature provides every district the ability to capture 8% of the assessed value of your district. So the tax value of our attendance area, all of our property, is $75 million. That is not the market price of our attendance area. The market price obviously is way more, just like the tax value of your house is much less than what you would actually sell it for. So this is just tax value. If we were to capture 8% of that, that would be $6 million, and in order to, that would not build a new school. You have to spend that every year, and you have to spend that on something specific when you capture that money. It requires board approval. It doesn't require a referendum. The board just approves it every year. Most districts do this every year. We have not needed to do this because we have the local option sales tax, which again has been a blessing. We would capture this, we could capture this every year, repay it back every year, and then we would use that money to repair the 2 middle schools. Another option is to pass a bond referendum. This requires a approval by ballot measure, so we'd have a special election tentatively April 26th, and all of our folks who could vote would vote yes or no to have a bond referendum. This would allow us to not capture this. The estimated cost of a unified Belton Honeypath Middle School, we went to several general contractors who do K through 12 work extensively, and what a middle school costs now is $50 a square foot for site work. The building is $340 a square foot, so the estimated cost would be $65 million for a new middle school. It would have the capacity to hold about 1,000 students. Currently we have 750 middle school students. The impact of capturing the 8% sales tax, which is what most districts do every year, this is what we would need to do in order to fix up our middle schools, is, let me go back, is currently the millage rate is 21 mills for debt service, and that is, most of that is the old referendum that we passed in 2021. We would need to increase millage by 59 mills, which would bring us up to 80 mills. And so how much does that cost me? For every $100,000 tax value of an owner-occupied home, that would cost $236 a year. Now that is not what you would sell it for. That's just your tax value. You would obviously sell that house for much more. The reason that I used $100,000 is that, as opposed to some arbitrary number like what your house actually tax value is, the average tax value for a home in our attendance area is $102,000. So this is an average home, the tax value in our attendance area. That would cost that homeowner $236 increase each year, so that's about $20 a month. And then for a $20,000 automobile, it's $71. So that would be the cost of capturing the 81%. If we successfully passed a bond referendum, the impact of that would be a 28 mill increase, so we would only increase millage by 49 mills, and then that would be 108 additional annual dollars for every $100,000 value of the house, which would be $9 a month, and then it would be $32.40 for every $20,000 value of an automobile. The implications of both of those, if we access the 8%, it would only delay the eventual need to replace our middle school facilities. Eventually we're going to have to build a new middle school anyways, just like you have to build a new elementary school eventually. They don't go on forever. Construction will be ongoing at both middle schools for years. This, regardless, I mean, if we capture the 8%, this would be the most painful. It's not even close. Even though capturing the 8% is twice as expensive as a referendum, and that's painful, the most painful thing would be that our middle schools would be under construction for years. And I can't even tell you how many years it would be. We would have to have students vacate wings of schools so we could make the improvements. We'd have to bring in mobiles. We'd have to hold school in the gym or cafeteria. You would have, from one year to another, a teacher would not know where they're teaching. Students will be displaced throughout the whole process. It would be very difficult to attract teachers to a school that would be under construction for the foreseeable years. I've got a third grader. If we did this, she would never be in a middle schooler. Most of our elementary kids who are currently in the school, they would never be in a middle school that was not under construction. That would go on for quite a while. It is also the most expensive tax impact on our community. One of the benefits of a unified middle school is there are things and programs we would like to add to the middle school that we currently can't afford to do it twice. We would love to bring foreign languages down to the middle school. We would love to bring advanced engineering and computer classes down to the middle school. We can't afford to do that at two schools. We just can't. And it makes sense. You know, before BHP was here, there were 3 high schools. Currently, if there are 3 high schools, there is no way we could afford 3 band programs, 3 football programs, 3 chorus programs, 3 separate administrative staffs. It's just not sustainable. And we know that. When you buy a piece of property for your family to live on, you don't build 5 separate little homes for them, and then you build one. You may want to build 5 separate homes, but that's just really inefficient. That's a very inefficient way to live. A bond referendum is the least expensive impact on your community. I know nobody likes paying taxes in the world. And so the bond referendum is the least expensive. And then the current middle school facility provides recreation and mixed use for opportunities for both towns. We met with both of our town leadership and talked with them about the possibility of our current middle schools becoming recreation and office facilities for city offices, and both of them were very excited about that. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a town the size of Honeypath or Belton that would have a recreation facility as nice as Honeypath Middle School, the gymnasium and the field and whatnot, which would be wonderful for our children and our community. The advantages of a new middle school: increased academic programs and experiences for our students. Again, we'll be able to offer things that we currently cannot afford to do at two schools. Increased safety. New schools now, when you walk in, you stay in as opposed to transitioning outside. Also safety glass and then door sensors and things like that that new schools have. And enhanced efficiency and maintenance. Obviously, it is less expensive to maintain one school than it is two. I wanted to show you this, and I apologize, I could not make it any bigger, folks. This is Belton Middle School, and this is Honeypath Middle School. This is a 6-year average of what it costs to run the plant. So just to pay for electricity, water, repairs, grass cutting, telephone, janitorial supplies, heat, it costs about $169,000 to maintain the facility at Belton Middle School, and it costs $159 to maintain the building at Honeypath Middle School. It's worth noting that Honeypath has about half the students that Belton Middle School does, but it doesn't cost that much less to run. It costs us about $330,000 to maintain the facility at both schools. So if you divide that in half, if you had only one school, and just assuming it costs the same to heat, to cool, to repair a brand new school built in 2027 than it does one built in 1954, 1986, 1960, all the additions. It would be much more efficient, but we don't know how efficient, so just using current numbers, we would save about $164,000 a year. General contractors, the industry standard for a K-12 building is 50 years. So assuming the new middle school lasts 50 years, the district would save, our taxpayers would save $8.3 million over the life of that middle school. The advantages of a new middle school: enhanced extracurricular activities. Instead of just one basketball team, you would have a 7th and 8th grade basketball team. Same thing with volleyball, football. You'd also have an opportunity to do spring sports for middle schools. All of our students now have to go to BHP to play those spring sports, which is fine. But with a larger student body, you have the opportunity to compete with other middle schools in spring sports. Attractiveness for recruiting, retaining teachers. I'm not that impressed by big new shiny things at all. Our new young teachers are, y'all. They like coming to a nice new building. They just like it, and so that would help us to do that. Natural light, environmentally friendly design. How many times have you told your children, go outside, go outside, go outside? We just understand that being around natural light is a very positive environmental thing to have in a facility. And then the unifying effect on the community. Obviously, I was not here in 1966 when we combined Belton, when we built Belton Honeypath High School, and I'm new. I've only been here 4 years. From a new guy being here 4 years, BHP High School is the most unifying thing in our entire district. Nothing is even close. There is more community enthusiasm around all of our children achieving together than I see anywhere else. And so we could do that with our middle school as well. This is tentatively, I wanted to show you kind of what it would look like. This is a very rudimentary blueprint. I apologize if you cannot see it very good. This is Belton Honeypath Highway. This is Barker's Creek. This is Doshino. This is currently VHP. And this is kind of where the new middle school could be. It would probably be very similar to this, not exactly. This is currently where our facility, where our maintenance and transportation office is. This would be the building core with the gym. These are the two wings. You'll see a close-up in a minute. This would actually be the bus route where they drop off kids. This is currently where BHP buses come in. This would be the car, this would be parking. This would be the middle school football field, athletic field. We'd actually move the maintenance and transportation down to the southern part of this property. The district owns all this property already. This was bought in 2007 in anticipation for expansion. The car rider line would extend all the way up here. We've already met with the Department of Transportation multiple times to get them to approve this. We already use this for egress for car riders. We would have the ability to stack all of our car rider cars on this car rider line, which would get them off of Belton Honea Path Highway. We would also stagger the start of the middle school. Anderson 1 does this at every single one of their high schools already. And they've actually got elementary schools and middle schools and high schools, and tons of other districts do. But you would actually start middle school maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes before you would start high school, get all of those children in, get all of their parents out, and then you would bring in your high schoolers so it would not cause additional congestion. Currently at both of our middle schools, we back up 3 public roads twice a day when we arrive and dismiss. We would not back up any of the roads because we would have the ability to stack our cars right here. This is a school person joke, and y'all may not appreciate this. If we did have this, this would probably be the favorite early afternoon napping for many of our moms. This is kind of a close-up of what it would look like. Each one of these would be a wing for a grade level. We're currently not able to do that at Honea Path Middle School. A lot of our Honea Path Middle School students are intermingling, which it is what it is. At Belton Middle School, we've got the round wing. We can put our 6th graders. It is very preferable to be able to have each class in its own wing to kind of build that culture, especially with your 6th graders. Especially to be able to get your teachers, to get their hands on them, to be able to build that positive culture, to be able to build their identity, and you'd be able to do that in a new school, and this would be the building